Hello once again and welcome to my channel. My name is Marianne Allen and I am so glad you stopped by. If you are here, if you clicked on this video, you are curious about what's going on with the Liberian refugee situation in Ghana, and you are interested in knowing how to resolve this issue or provide some form of insight into this issue. If you have not seen the video that I created discussing some of the issues surrounding this situation in Ghana, I'm gonna leave the link up. You can go ahead and watch that. There is a great forum on that video of people discussing the different issues and trying to fill in the gaps in the story and stuff. And if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button. I'm not a reviewer of news outlets, or I'm not a journalist, even though I wanted to become a journalist when I was a kid because my father was a journalist, my uncle was a journalist, and my mom was like, you know, African mothers now, my mom was like, so you want to die early? She was like, so you want them to kill you, huh? Don't be a journalist. But I always had a desire for it. I never did it, and now I get to throw a little bit of light on something that I care about, or a news that, and I don't usually talk about these issues or situations. I had to try to at least help people understand like what exactly is happening or going on. So I'm grateful to all of you who have been able to provide some insightful information to actually fill in the gap in this story that I tried to tell. And there were some people who either did not listen to me, did not get what I was trying to say, or are just on the defense and are just ready to go to war. So they're commenting some pretty junk on here, but we're not going to pay attention to them. I'm going to put my energy and my focus on those who actually were able to dissect the information that I provided and decided to provide some insight into the different areas, which I think was extremely helpful because, like I said, a lot of us Liberians, whether we're in Liberia or in the West, a lot of the Liberians living outside of Ghana don't really understand like what's really happening in Ghana with the Liberian situation and what has been happening over the years. Like I mentioned in that video, I was pretty clueless or confused about what happened. Why have Liberians been on the refugee camp for 9 additional years past the time that the status of refugee ended, you know? Because I would think, like, even if they were given some time to leave gradually, it would have been done maybe within a couple of years, not 9 years past. So and then one of the information that I guess I was missing, and I needed to understand, and maybe a lot of other people needed to understand, is why now? Like, why the demolition now? Why the repossession of the land now? And just trying to like process in my head, not to look for whose fault is it, but try to come up with a constructive way forward. I strongly believe that we the people have the power to create the change that we want to see. So I don't take these forums or these platforms lightly. I think there are a lot of great ideas that I threw on here that can be done, and I think that's the whole purpose of this video now that I'm doing, is to come up with what do we think we could do moving forward, like as citizens of both countries and as government of both countries, maybe including the United Nations. I don't know, but you never know where videos end up, so somebody might learn a thing or two and take the message onward or forward. So I have been following up with the comments. I have not been commenting or liking or anything because I mean, it has just been like too much to keep up with. And I feel like once I get started with that, it's never gonna end. Like people just keep coming back, especially if people are for biased towards one side. They just feel like they need to defend that side, and I don't know if I have time for that. So I just want us to be objective and like put out some really critical thinking and problem solving here on how we can move forward, because that's kind of how I work. So I pulled out some good points that people made in the comment section of that video. And like I said, if you have not seen that video, you actually want to go and see that video to give you a good foundation of this next video. So I pulled out some really good points that were made that kind of helped me understand what's going on and filled in some of the gaps. Now there are a few more questions that I have concerning the information that were put out, and actually some people took their time to write me emails trying to explain the situation and stuff, which I greatly appreciate. A couple of points that were made, and I think I kind of made in my video, but it was a little bit more vague, is that number one, Ghana has the right to ask for their land because the tenure of the use of the land for a specific purpose had passed. So the land was asked for a specific purpose for a time frame, and that time frame has been met, and they have the right to request the land again. Let's just get that clear, okay? Because there are people who are pretty salty about why is the government asking to repossess the land. So let's make that clear that they do have the right to do that. They're not breaking any kind of contract because that time given allotted for refugee purposes has been over. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it has been stated, and not just from people on this platform, but also from that government official that was interviewed in the clip that I put in the previous video. He talked about the crime rate and stuff on the camp. Now I know one person that lives on the camp, like currently, so, and I talked to him just to kind of get a sense of like, what does he think, being a Liberian and living on the camp, how does he feel about that? And he did confirm that the crime rate on the camp is pretty high. He said the camp is not what it used to be. It's deplorable. It's bad. It's not safe even for them who are there. They're afraid most of the time to even go in certain areas. The substance abuse is really high on the camp. People are dying from overdose, and people are killing each other, you know, like it's pretty bad. But then again, even though the camp has been labeled as Liberian refugee camp, we must point out the fact that it's not only Liberians that are living on the camp. Therefore, it's not only, the issue isn't coming from one specific group. And I would hate to start calling names and pointing people out here like others have done about who's committing the crime. But as it is, it's being seen as is the Liberian refugee camp, so therefore is the Liberians that's causing the issue. But there are a mixture of people on the camp, and the issues could be coming from anyone living on the camp. So overall, the crime rate, the issues that are unsafe issues and that are going on the camp prompted this decision of demolition and really like just getting rid of everyone over there. And I think that's also fair, because if that situation were to turn around and be in our own community in Liberia, where locals and Liberian citizens were feeling unsafe in a particular area due to this structure that has been put in place and has been way past the use and deadline of whatever it was put in place for, I think we too would have a problem. We too would be okay with it being dissolved. Let's be fair here. The third thing that came up that kind of helped fill in the gap for the question that I asked about who are the people that are on the camp, because I stated in the prior video, that there were 3 pathways that were given: repatriation back to Liberia, integration into Ghana society, and resettlement. And somehow there were people who opted for all 3 pathways. Now, if those things were done and people actually were accepted and completed through those different pathways, then who are the people remaining on the camp? There were comments that stated that people who chose the repatriation pathway back to Liberia received the funds that were given by Ghana's government, received the funds that were given by United Nations, and went to Liberia and received the funds that were given by Madam Sirleaf at the time, but then returned back to Ghana. And now they have this money and they're in Ghana. Of course, some people actually made good of it, while other people just returned to the camp. So these people now that are, and it's not everyone, so we will hate to generalize and say everyone that's on the camp are people that left Ghana and decided to go back to Ghana. So there is still a possibility that some of the people on the camp may have been through the other pathways as well, may have chosen resettlement and they're still waiting on resettlement, or may have chosen integration, and because there are not tangible things put in place for that, return to the camp. And then there are those people who took the money, went to Liberia, and went back to Ghana to live on the camp, which is an issue, a really big issue. And that dishonesty, we all know, like Africans, we struggle with that. And sometimes it comes around and it bites you in the behind, which is what it is. Now, so there's that fact. So, and if you think about it, like if that actually was done, and I did ask around about that, and it was confirmed that that was actually done, which I don't dispute. Like that sounds like something that would be done. And even my husband confirmed that. Like I was talking to him about it and he was like, oh, definitely. Like he know a couple of people that even like boasted about it or talked about it. So if that happened, that was silly. And it kind of undid the effort, you know. It kind of undid the effort of the 3 institutions or entities that were trying to really assist this process. And now I would see how people will feel frustrated or feel like their hands are tied to actually provide some kind of sustainable assistance with this, especially when it comes to money wise. Those 3 things provide some clarification why the demolition, and why do we still have people residing in that area. Now let's be a little critical and let's put aside the defensiveness and who's right and who's wrong and who has done well and who has not done well. For the sake of moving forward and for the sake of, I really like a response there. A couple of people really talked about, yeah, we see all of the things that have happened, but it looks bad the way it looks now. Like in the public, it looks bad. And you know, like in this life, you can do 1,000 good and one action can undo kind of all that you've done. And it seemed like people tend to look at the one negative thing to tint all the good that people have done. And someone said Ghana and Liberia has a really good relationship, and it would be really bad to see it be ruined by the way this issue is handled. And I agree with that. I think Ghana has been generous. Ghana has been great. Ghana and Ghanaians have always loved their fellow Liberians. Um, Now, let me just point out there are Liberians living in Ghana who are doing pretty well for themselves. There are some people who lived on the camp, left the camp prior to this whole like refugee stuff, and actually made something of themselves. But you don't really see them around in the communities and stuff. You don't see them around, so it's hard to, even Ghanaians, when you talk to them, it's hard, and you ask them about Liberians, it's hard for them to point you to those people. The concept and the mentality of Ghanaians that I spoke with in Ghana about Liberians, all they see is the vast majority who are not living a decent life. And it's almost like the stereotype, like what you see is kind of what you know about a group of people. And the same thing happens with blacks here in the US, with all the effort that blacks are putting through and what the media shows, like the drugs and the gangs and the projects. It's kind of that what they think of us when they see us. So I think it's something similar that's happening in Ghana. But let's be fair, there are Liberians that are doing okay in Ghana. But like they're pretty disconnected, you know, they're disconnected from those who are not doing well. So if we want to be able to resolve this issue but still be firm about repossessing the land, it has to be done in a better way, like a lot of our brothers and sisters have suggested. The both countries, including United Nations or UNHCR, need to be able to sit and come up with a sustainable solution to this issue, while giving Ghana what they need, which is access to or dissolving that camp that have been set up. Now, I've also heard a lot of people in the comment section that said, we're not asking them to leave, we're just asking them to integrate. If they decide to stay in Ghana, to integrate into Ghana's society. Now, let's use our critical thinking or critical eyes here. If you are saying that we're getting rid of the camp area because of crime, drug use, and prostitution, and so on, but we're not asking them to leave. Do you get where I'm going with this? We're not asking them to leave. We're just saying, come and live amongst us, you know, you criminals and drug users. Just come and live among us and life will be great. Is that what you're saying? Like, doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of what you're trying to, the reason you're trying to give to get rid of that place? So as a Ghanaian, I think you should sit down and think about this. Like, if the issue is over there and you're getting rid of them, you're not asking them to go back home because this is where they've known. Some of them even got papers to even be here, but then you're asking them to come and live amongst our community that we're safe. Is there something else that could be done to help them become better? You know, I think that's the question that every Ghanaian should be asking, instead of like trying to be defensive and then giving reasons that kind of contradicts, or it doesn't necessarily help you in return. That leads me to my next point. Now, with the whole integration, I mentioned that in my first video. I said there's a lot that gets put into integration into any society. And because I've worked with this system for quite a bit here in the US, so I'm just gonna speak based on that. I don't know what really happens on the African side of things, but I would think that some of those things could be implemented. Now, when the US decides to accept refugees from a certain country, like from the Ivory Coast or from Guinea, from Sierra Leone, from Ghana, from Syria, when they just recently had their issues, the US takes responsibility of those people. If they cannot, if the budget does not permit it, if they just cannot, if those people are going to live in the US and live below the rights and not have rights that other who are in the US would have, then they wouldn't accept those people. Okay. When the refugees come to the US, there are different pathways that are given to them. Okay. Permanent residency, that kind of leads all the way to citizenship and stuff like that. There are people who remain on their refugee status, but then after said number of years, if you don't upgrade, you may lose that status, especially if your country is no longer in war, or let's say you come on political asylum and you never upgrade your status and your country is no longer in war. The US has the right to send you back or ask you to go back home. So the goal of people who come is to upgrade their status once they're here. And I think that's one thing that Liberians living in Ghana should have done. Some of them did, but not every one of them did. I'm not sure if Ghana was ever against that. I would doubt it. And even when the opportunity was given at the closure of the refugee status, I think a lot more Liberians should have taken advantage of that. So you upgrade your status. Now, when you upgrade your status to a permanent residency here in the US, you are then afforded everything a permanent resident is legally entitled to. The US does not just let you enter the society and kind of figure things out on your own. No. They don't just give you money and they allow you to go figure it out on your own. No. There are systems put in place. There are procedures put in place to integrate you into the society. So integration is not just I give you paper. No, integration is years long of work, making these people that you've accepted into your own home be a part of your own home. And I think that's an area of growth and improvement on the Ghanaian government side of things. It's not just the paper. Here we have training programs that are put in place to have these people go through. Higher education is one, grade school education is another, English language learning services for those who cannot speak English is another program that's put in place for people to help them integrate, because the language barrier is a barrier to integration. Economic assistance, economic status, including income, is a barrier to successful integration. Education is a barrier to successful integration, because if you're not learned, you cannot successfully integrate, especially in a thriving society. You would remain at the bottom. And let's be honest, any group of people that remain at the bottom affects the entire economy. They affect the entire community. If my child never went to school and I'm your neighbor, my child is your child's friend. Do you know what that looks like in the future? If your child was the only one that went to school and their generation grow up, your child will have to do all the work while my child benefit from that. So any one person who falls by the wayside, the rest of the other people bear the weight. You might have to be paying higher taxes so that you can take care of those who don't make it up to you. So I think there has to be a lot more that's put in place for these people. Let's be honest, we can say there are a lot of trauma that refugees go through when they're placed under the status of refugee. A lot of trauma. Some people stay on refugee camps for years before they're resettled. Years in conditions that are not suitable, conditions that does not give them any sense of dignity. Their children are unable to go to school. They've fallen behind. There are some schools that are provided on refugee camps, but they're not mainstream schools, so they still lack There are parents who are not able to work, they're not able to be sufficient. There are a lot of things that happen during a period where someone is a refugee. When they get into the mainstream society, they are steps behind. You can't expect them to start performing like you who never had that issue. And I think that's something that we need to pay attention to and be keen to it, and treat them like humans. Treat them like humans. Were there opportunities that may have been given for them to go to school and do skill training? Maybe, I don't know. And maybe some of them took advantage of it, or some of them did not take advantage of it. Were there things that were done from the government standpoint, or was it family members in the U.S. who were sending money for these families to go seek proper education and stuff? So there are a lot of different things, and I think we all need to be able to take some form of accountability and responsibility and be able to move forward with it. So if Ghana is accepting these people as their own, then Ghana needs to help them integrate successfully. And I think that's something I would hope my Ghanaian brothers and sisters would agree with. If this was in Liberia and this was happening, I would say the same to my Liberian government. If we are accepting these people to be our own, to be a part of our society, then we are supposed to help them integrate successfully and feel a sense of belonging. But from some of the statements and things that Liberians are saying that live in Ghana on the camp area, the sense of belonging isn't there. They've always felt like outsiders. Now, it's not everyone that feel that way, okay? It's not everyone that feel that way, and there are Ghanaians that have gone above and beyond to assist in whichever way they can, and that's applaudable. You know, it's something that we need to be grateful for, be thankful for. But let's not let this great relationship, this movement that has been going on positively, to end into a negative way. You know, we can't accept people but tell them you can only stay down here. That is something we experience a lot in the States as blacks. And when we're here in the States, we're not Nigerians and Liberians and Ghanaians. We are black brothers and sisters. That's it. We're black. They don't differentiate between us. Like, which country are you from? No, you are black first. So it's tough to see that, to even think that any one of our brothers would experience that on the mother continent, you know. So let's not point fingers but constructively come up with ways to move forward with this. What are things that could be put in place to help them that are accepting to stay? And it shouldn't just be financial assistance, because we all know it's not sustainable. You can't just feed people with fish. You have to teach them how to fish, okay? And then let's also be real and serious with the fact that sometimes you try teaching people to fish and they just want to learn. They just don't want to learn how to fish. So there are some that will not want to learn how to fish. But let's create a pathway that those who want to take on those opportunities can actually have those opportunities. And this is not just for the Ghanaian government. I think Liberian government also need to put such in place. Those who are coming back to Liberia to reintegrate into Liberia society, let's not just leave them to hang and dry. Giving someone $300 or per head, per individual, and then $200 per kid, it's not a lot of money, to be honest. The living expenses in Liberia is quite high. I mean, and the jobs are not available. They're not there for the people. Businesses are tight because money isn't in the people's hand to spend. So it's difficult to expect them to survive even in Liberia. we have to create pathways, we have to create programs, systems that will help these people reintegrate for the benefit of their children, um, and the next generation. And I think if something like that was to be put in place in Liberia, Liberians will feel comfortable and proud to return home, knowing that I can go to a trade school, and get something done. And a few years from now, I'll be able to take care of my family. You know, that's living a life with dignity. But we see that we're even struggling in that area in Liberia because we have a lot of ex-fighters in the country that we've now labeled as Zogos, that don't have anything to do. So there has to be something that's done, you know. I'm really passionate about social issues, but I try not to talk politics, especially African politics, because it just gets dirty and people are not willing to really understand different sides of the issues. They just want to attack, and they want to attack disrespectfully and rudely, and I don't have time for that. But forums like this where we can brainstorm, we can talk about different ideas and issues and give different points, I think is very beneficial, to every one of us. And like I said, everything is political. I study public health, and everything is political, pretty much. So as much as I run away from politics, it's difficult to stay away from politics, because any social issue that you want to talk about is going to require some form of political intervention, or attachment. So let me know your thoughts and ideas, about a way forward with this issue, and let's start to have more positive outlook on this and speak positively about it, to debunk some of those anger and ignorance that we're hearing out there. And let's continue to be brothers and sisters. You know, let's not let anyone shake that off us. Like I said, one of the reasons why we moved to Ghana was because we felt more comfortable being in Ghana because of the relationship between Ghanaians and Liberians, above all else. And I'm not gonna sit here and say because this is happening that makes Ghanaians bad. No, that's not what's going on. That's not fair. So thank you for coming back on here. Thanks for watching, and I hope you got some good information from here, and we can move forward from here. So I do cover my relocation process, my relocation journey to Ghana. I am only transitioning in Ghana to move back to Liberia, my home country. And if you want to know about my journey, make sure you subscribe. I actually moved to Ghana without ever visiting Ghana, so it's quite an experience. You actually may want to pay attention to that. Yeah, so I'll be coming back with more regular contents, but thanks for sticking around, and I'll catch you in another video. Bye bye.